Hi YouTube, this is Mochismo Eugene, another video from Exit Strategy. The title of this video is going to be, was my first wife or is my first wife truly a narcissist? I don't know if many of you know, but I've been married 3 times. My first wife of 10 years. I have 2 older children by in their 20s. I was not married to my twins' mother, who are 13 years old, boy and a girl, who I have custody of, who oftentimes I'm getting calls from the school and whatnot because of one thing or another, attendance and different things like that. Most of the time it's on her watch when they're missing in action. But back to the first wife, 10 years, 2 older children. The third wife who I married was out of my house in 9 months. That's predominantly what I speak about when I talk about narcissists, because she is the one that I discovered was covert narcissist, super quiet covert narcissist. Back in 2020 is when I awakened, and the ruse that I used the ruse to get her out of my house, because months leading up to the discovery of narcissistic personality disorder, I had no clue what it was, but I had asked her to leave my house months before. But in the meantime, I went through some periods of disconnect, isolation, and whatnot, and that, along with no contact, and finally discovering or stumbling upon narcissistic personality disorder through Google, I systematically ridded myself of the cockroach she was or is. Now, staying on this topic of the first wife, is the first wife indeed a narcissist? I'm mentioning this video because I ran across, or I actually was coming out of a store, and I believe I'm more than certain that it was my ex-wife. Going into the store, we didn't make eye contact. She didn't acknowledge me. I didn't acknowledge her. Now, I don't know if many of you know the story, but I was excommunicated from my first wife of 10 years. Back in 2001 or 2003, I think. For a period of 5 years, I was given stay away and order protection from a judge, meaning stay away from my children, the wife, for a period of 5 years. I went on to stay away from her and the children for that 5-year period. And after that 5-year period had ended, I had drowned myself into my everyday ritual of working and just keeping busy until when that time expired, I didn't attempt in any way, shape, or form to reach out to the courts with a desire to see the children with the consent of the courts. And I'll explain a little bit of why I didn't do that, because leading up, shortly after I was excommunicated or put out of the house by way of a false accusation of domestic violence, she incurred an injury, which I'll expound on at some other time, but to speed this video up, she ended up indirectly getting hit with a door of the car, and she claimed I hit her. Just point blank period, I hit her. Now, the biggest reason why after my 5-year stay away and order protection had expired, the biggest reason why I didn't reach out to the courts is because I believe, and I have not so much physical proof, but I have events that lead me to believe, and I would rest my faith on it, lead me to believe that she was, in fact, sleeping around with the police in question who arrested me on the night of said incident. Now, she had me arrested by this guy. And ironically, he was volunteer coach. That was his moonlighting gig, as well as being an officer of the law. And there were just certain things that I kind of remember looking back that he said while I was sitting in the back of his squad car. That leads me to believe that that was just not a typical arrest. It was premeditated, it was orchestrated by him and the wife. And there were a couple more instances where I was at Lowe's at the time. I was working overnight at Lowe's, and we would be locked into the store at night. And so, on this particular night, of all nights, I decided to go to the front door, which we were locked in, but I decided to go to the front and look out from the inside of the store through the windows. And lo and behold, I saw a squad car driving by the Lowe's. And the light near the rearview mirror, or the side mirror on the door, that spotlight, was swiveling back and forth. My, at the time, minivan was parked up under the store's roof where you would generally see the lawn and garden stuff, because at night they would have sweepers that would go through and sweep the parking lot. So we were advised to put our cars up under there, tuck them away so they wouldn't have to maneuver around them. And so I saw the car coming, and I saw the spotlight swiveling. So what I did was I dotted back, almost like dotted my head back behind the wall area, away from the window. And as the car proceeded past the front of the store, I saw that same spotlight directed directly on my license plate. Now, you can't make this stuff up. This is like a movie. Now, this is hindsight. I like to call it rearview mirror effect. No pun intended. I was able to determine that it was him, that he, in fact, was the one who was in that car, the same officer who I believe was sleeping with my wife while I was at work during nighttime. He was checking to see if I was in fact in place, if you will. Checking to see if I was in place. As a coward they are, they need to make sure you're where you need to be before they go and do their dirt. Hope you guys are hearing me well. I'm doing a little bit of a project, and I'm just walking back and forth and doing this video because I don't know if I'll negate time later to do it, and I want to do it while it's fresh on my heart and on my mind. Now, the reason why I'm doing this is because I need the audience to listen to this, because somebody somewhere is experiencing this and they can't make sense out of anything. And there are some people in your past that you may have determined are or could be narcissists, but you don't know, definitely. And the more these things start developing over time, it won't happen immediately, but you'll start gathering little bits and pieces of that puzzle without even trying. You'll be minding your own business like I was today. And see, what you have to understand, I know now, as I've known since 2020, but I'm reminded, what is a narcissist? What are one of the attributes? They're self-centered, they are hell-bent on control. And most of the women I've been involved with, they've met me, they've loved the qualities I've had, but when they actually say they like a man that is in charge, they have distorted my good qualities at the end of those relationships because they were so consistent, knew how to hold the fort down, knew how to make decisions right off the cuff. They might not have been the greatest ideas, but I was able to think on my feet when they were losing their mind. And at the end of the relationship, that was distorted into you always trying to control. Isn't that ironic of what do you call projection? That's ironic, the projection. They project, they love control. End of the day, they'll tell you you're controlling. And this is a gaslighting effect. They're gaslighting you, they're projecting, they're doing multiple things to confuse you and have you explaining and defending and, oh, I'm not like that, I don't want you to feel like that. So then you renege on your character, or you just get off the gas pedal and you become inconsistent in all to please the person who's accusing you. And that's why I got fired too. This is a whole slew of narcissistic energy versus good energy. Wasn't about sexual harassment. Just wanted to chime in on that. That's why I'm okay with the termination. Although I'm not okay with the allegation, what are you gonna do? There's nothing you can do about it. I've been called worse. I told you guys there was a story, and this is not just a story. I was giving which is all connected with this wife when she excommunicated me. Prior to being excommunicated out of the house we lived in with the 2 little children at that time, who are grown now, I actually got a letter in the mail for a paternity test. And the short of it is that I threw the first one away. And I was like, man, I haven't been sleeping with nobody in my mind. I'm like throwing this away. So a second one came and she intercepted it, unbeknownst to me. So in the heated argument she was attempting, first wife, was trying to create arguments. I believe now looking back, arguments, all in an attempt to get me to rage and do something physical. Because I had domestic violence in my record by way of this individual. Only individual I've ever had a physical altercation or a physical past, violent physical past with, as a result of just demons, traumas in my childhood, and alcohol just brought all those things to the top. And I'm sure you guys can relate to that. You're acting out in your adult life, and now you're revisiting this now and seeing that, man, you're getting closure because you know that that's not you. You didn't do that out of a deliberate hatred or deliberate characteristic that you loved. You did it out of an impulse. So back to that paternity test. It came, she intercepted it. I ended up going to court on the second one because she, in a heated little bit of a fake heated argument, she's like, you the one basically got kids by other people. And I was like, I don't know what you're talking about. I threw that first letter away, and obviously you intercepted the second one, not even telling me. Da 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 da. So I went and I did the paternity test. Paternity lady even said to me in this room, and this is the God honest truth, she said, you know what? I'm not supposed to talk and tell you this. She said, I'm gonna say something. She said, this child is not yours. I just want you to know that, so you don't even have nothing to worry about. I said, what are you talking about? I said, I know it's not mine. She said, the child and the mother has come in. She said, this child is not mulatto, it's not biracial, it doesn't even look like the mother. It looks like the father, to which it doesn't have any attributes of you. It doesn't have a nose, it doesn't have any Afrocentric traits or physical, whatever she was trying to say. 'Cause I've been doing this a lot of years, and I've dated some black men. She said this doesn't have it's not even remotely interracial, has black. It's not remotely partial black baby. She said that the baby is Caucasian. And I just looked at her like, hey, I know it's not mine. I haven't even slept with this woman. I knew of her working at a service station, I think. And I would go there and have coffee at night on my break, because this is when I was working overnight at Walmart. So I would leave Walmart because that's a nightmare. To the break rooms in the Walmart, that's another litter and hellhole of narcissists. And so being independent, us chosen ones, we tend to be loners. So I go to the service station, which is why I believe this woman remembered me, and for some reason became so fixated with me because I made small talk with her, because you get to know people and you're a frequent customer, and you start learning little things about people. And she would inquire, hey, how are you, where are you from? At that time I was very forthcoming with telling people a little bit about me, and I'm still that way today too, but I read signs, I read energy. So nothing has really changed. I'm just a little more vigilant about what I share and how the person reciprocates to what I'm saying. So she asked me at one point, how, she said, and I'm so forthcoming. I was like, yeah, I just got this job. Actually, that was the first job. This is before Lowe's. So in reverse, the cop was a few years after, maybe 2 years after the Walmart. So I got the job 7-8 months out of prison. And she said, hey, where you from? I told her down south, and I said, yeah, I just got out of prison, blah, blah, blah. Just candid with my life, because I had changed. I'm a new man. I'm just proud of the fact that I was able to defeat the alcohol and break the curse. And so I said, yeah, I'm at Walmart, blah, blah. She's like, what are you going to prison for? I was like, yeah, being an asshole, hitting on my wife and grabbing on her a few times, too many, and consequently ended up scoring out to prison. As far as a scoring system, back and forth to the county jail will lead you consequently to prison if you score out, just so you all know. If you're doing repeated crimes, repeated little things like domestics, which is not a little thing, but you think is little, repeat visits to jail, I don't know, maybe 10 times, strong chance you'll be working on prison. And because this is a violent offense as well. So I went and did a paternity test, went to court, they read the results, negative, 199.999% not the father, is what they say, like Mark Rapovic say. And so I walked past this individual in court, and I looked at her and I said, I wish you well in your life. And I've always been the kind of guy to say to people who try to hurt me, and not even rubbing it in their face, but just, I wish you well in your life, to really just prove to them, you will not create a monster in me. I won't become what I hate, which is evil. And so I walked out of the courtroom, relieved, not so much elated, had a real dry feeling in my stomach, real sour taste in my mouth, like, the nerve of someone to do this. Now, thanks for letting me expound on that story, because tying into what I'm saying, when I got excommunicated, which is shortly after the Walmart situation, because something ensued at the Walmart parking lot, to which she kept gaslighting me at the register. My kid wanted candy. I said, no, you can't have it. You guys have chosen everything you wanted on the grocery cart. You have enough candy in the cart. He got behind me and he kind of yanked on his mother's shirt, and I was like, hey, when I tell you you can't have anything, don't dare go behind my back and do what I asked you not to do. Now, I use that analogy about the cookie a lot. When it's time to go to bed, one parent says no, other parent says yeah. That is why I'm connecting all of these pieces of this puzzle. When he yanked on her shirt, I called him out in Walmart in a moderate tone, pretty much like I'm talking now. Where I'm from, there's no whispering when your child misbehaves. You embarrass them, short of beating the living hell out of them like I used to get, or you get backslapped. Back then it was the good old days. You never held grudges against your parent for doing that, because you knew it warranted what you got. And up north, that would be considered child abuse, but up north and other parts of the world, depending on where you're at, they will put their child in the corner and make him sit and hold one leg up in the air, put their nose against the wall, which is psychological abuse. So if we're gonna open that can of worms, let's just do the whole thing. And that's what I'm saying about truth is truth. One truth can't be outweigh the other. Now that's a whole nother tangent I'm on. But I said, no, you can't have the candy. He had it in, I mean, you know, she was like, you always embarrassing us in front of people. And I'm thinking to myself, no, I don't. But at that time, I didn't say that. I was like, what are you talking about? I said, the child is defying what I asked him not. I told him he couldn't have that, and he's defying me. And so she's like, what? Your girlfriend must be in here or something. So again, guys, this is all what I believe is gaslighting. This was her deliberate attempt, because she's sleeping with this cop. She has to make this situation go bad on my part. She had asked me to leave the house. She wanted me to just leave many times, leading up to her gaslighting me and trying to create arguments. So looking back at that component too, she couldn't outright say, I'm seeing somebody. Who normally says I'm seeing somebody? Nope, they gotta get you out of the way so they'll be able to see that person without you knowing they were already seeing that person. Who else does this? Do supply? We know who does this. Reason why I believe that the first wife is very, very, very well could be a narcissist. There are a lot of narcissists are unaware narcissists, and that is probably where she falls at in that. She knows she's doing deceitful stuff. I'm sure she's very cognitive of that. She's very cognitive of that fact. But does she know what it is by description? And get this, guys. She's an RN. She's a medical nurse. She's an RN in the medical field. How cool is that? So let me finish my story. So I'm going to tell you, you only have one life to live in the world. I'm kind of winded, guys. That's why you see my voice accelerating. You only have one life to live. God has exposed these people, and he's exposing them. Rightly so. Godspeed, he's exposing them. And he's giving us a voice to expose them. We are his mouthpiece. And he's getting his word out, because the devil will pay retribution to God. And I think God in his sovereign mercy is actually made very possibly. I want to believe God. So I'm not a hateful, malicious person. I want to believe God, being who God is in his sovereign mercy, given the narcissist one more opportunity to get it together. But guess what? We can get philosophical and say, God can change, God can do it for me, he'll do it for them. God is willing. How many people how many people did God, or how many people got destroyed in Sodom and Gomorrah? How many people were destroyed in that city? The whole city was destroyed. The whole entire city. He said, if you find but one, I won't destroy the city. Food for thought, guys. So let's continue. I'm airing it out today because guess what? It's a peace that comes over me when I talk about this, because there are so many open, not questions, there's open concerns in my subconscious, open affairs, if you will, if I can use that word, or incidents that have happened throughout my life that I haven't revisited. They popped up in my head here and there. And today, running into her, going into that store, and she was in street clothes, and so obviously she's off today, not working. But bigger point here, every relationship with that cop ended because he's a womanizer. I would often mention his name. Shortly after I got put out of the house by her, and just to mention his name, the women would finish my conversation like, "Yep, I know him. Yep, that's no that." I almost called his name. I would call his name. It don't matter. Don't matter, but I do have I think a handful of people, if I had to guess, maybe 3 people know my channel. I was actually considering changing the name for that reason, because I'm about to go very hard in the paint regarding some area and neighboring narcissists. So, for discretionary purposes, most of us would probably not dare let their channel be known in their immediate area. But I'm to the point where it's not, I don't care. That's the least of my concern, because let's say what I'm trying to say here. If you are listening to my videos, which some of these individuals that I've given my channel to early on, not really thinking that I probably shouldn't have, because thinking that these were not solid people, but people that I thought maybe would gain some insight, but mainly they got it for intel, and that's fine. I want you guys to get the word out how much of a quack this guy is on here talking about narcissists all the time. Yep, this guy. Because most often the people who are doing that, they're minions or they're narcissists on the law. So, if you're not one, if it don't apply, let it fly, but I'm talking directly to you. If you have my channel and you think you got the goods and you got the leverage, there's a lot of different things you're doing behind the scene to hurt this guy, hey, let God have his way with you. And so back to the subject at hand, I really began to put stuff together. And I don't really know where I was. Oh, the paternity test negative, blah, blah. I often thought maybe he had something to do with coercing that woman into, because you gotta understand, getting terminated from this job, this began to be one woman, then it ended up 4 or 5 women, and then the HR girl was like, oh, I'm sure it's gonna be more. How can you be so certain? And so he was kind of like, and she was a narcissist. And I called her out at the end and said, I studied narcissistic personality disorder. So you guys are terrible. You destroy people. You destroy lives and companies. I told you guys this already, but anyway, I believe this cop actually had this girl recruited to drag me through the mud, because what it was designed to do, since my wife couldn't get me out of the house, verbally saying she wanted me to leave, since she couldn't get me out, gaslighting me and trying to start fake fights, and so she could incite hostility in me, to where I would grab her, shake her, or rage and act like I did before I went to prison, with the absence of alcohol and having my mind right. That's not gonna happen. So now you're just barking up a tree that ain't got nothing in it. So those 2 tactics didn't work. They were pounding. They were hitting me with 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 punch. Forget the 1, 2, 3 knockout. They was trying to demolish me. And I look back at this, they were doing a very sadistic, silent, behind the scene job. But I'm gonna show you how good my God is. I'm standing here. And they got 5 years excommunicated from the kids. In exchange for that 5-year stay away and restraining order that the judge imposed on me, as a part of that deal, they dropped the charges of that alleged assault on my wife. That consequently happened as an accident from the door. She was leaning as an attempt to go and get out of the car, and I was backing out of the parking lot. I reached across her lap, slammed the door, and the door seal, which is the vertical frame of the door, hit her on the right temple near the eye, like a boxer's cut. Hit her right near the bone. And so you've gotten out of cars, I guess, and and we've all bumped our face or something near the door seal. So she was leaning in that direction. So she was going in one direction, and I leaned over, not really noticing or cognitive or aware that she was leaning, and so it just kissed her. I mean, it was the freakiest accident that could have happened. Especially, I'm raged, I'm upset because she done called me out as, trying to embarrass her in front of people, and I'm pissed and I'm mad. I'm throwing eggs in the trunk like I'm pitching a baseball. I'm breaking the whole dozen. I'm not even concerned about the eggs or any of the groceries. I think I ruined every bit of grocery in that cart. I'm trying to show you rage, this unquenchable rage that I had that night because I was being accused of something that didn't even make sense. But she had been doing this for a while, and I never really put it together in context because I was working at Walmart overnight, and I was, I was mowing lawns. When I got out of prison, I had an idea. I was going to start a landscape business. I succeeded in that. Do you know, when I first brought that to her attention, fresh out of prison, she's like, why don't you just get a regular job? It's already a lot of those out here. And I was like, I'm sure, babe, but I know this can work. The time I've had inside, I was able to strategize this in a way, and I was able to work out the bugs, the pros and the cons, in real life scenario form, to where the pitfalls. I won't invest a lot. I'll definitely start out small. So point is, she didn't believe in it. The emotional support from a woman is all a man needs. A lot of times it's not the money. But I used to call a lot of times from Lowe's at night when I could see a deal. And I would tell her, I was so addicted to getting tools that were clearanced or cheap to add to my arsenal that her credit card was on file. So I could just call her and give the phone to the cashier before they closed the store at night. And because I was staying in the store working, an overnight stocker, I'd give it to the cashier and she would get the card over the phone and the items would be paid for. So when I leave to go home in the morning, I would have these items before someone else got dibs on them. So I was addicted to that, but I had a drive, I had an ambition. I believed in what I was doing. I didn't really even need somebody to believe in what I was doing. So if you believe in what you're doing, you keep going. Don't ever stop. And now I'm here 20 years later. Maybe, 2002, 3, 20 years later, yeah. Been through hell and back. Is my first wife, in fact, a narcissist? I'm going to revisit this again and again and again because as I've spoken to you guys about, I don't know if I did, my son, I want to have a talk with him. I had prayed and asked God, what should I do? Should I just talk about this in context or just leave what I perceived or believe she did out of it and talk to them about how unfortunate it was that I, took your mom through blah, 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 blah. And I'll give them the details of what I did. But this would not be in context. If I took any measure of this story out, leaving her out is just not an option because that's a half-truth. And even though I don't have the tangible evidence, when I connect these things that I just talked to you guys about to my son and my daughter, or my son, which is my, who wants to talk to me. I haven't seen my daughter since college, the junior college I was going to. She went on and went down to Florida, told me she was moving somewhere to go to school. Ironically, she was pregnant, unbeknownst to me, and had a baby, and she has another baby. So I haven't seen either one of them So this is what the devil does. It estranges you. The devil estranges you from all of your family. And that's been my whole life story with all of my relatives, my cousins. When as a kid, don't know any of my siblings. I mean, not siblings, my relatives, my brothers, my uncles and aunts, sons and daughters. There were times when we were young, we tried to culminate some kind of connection because they lived out of state, either Florida, New York, California, wherever, and me living in Alabama. I think we would have numbers and we'd try to talk to each other probably once or twice. That's back when you didn't have cell phones. So it was just, it wasn't feasible. And even now I could look them up on Facebook, but 20, 30, 40, 52. I mean, I don't really even know them. What can we talk about and culminate as a family unit? Relatives. We can't. I just say this, my family are the empaths, chosen ones, and survivors of this abuse here on YouTube. I don't have a whole bunch. I have one or two that I consider brother and sister. I won't call their names right now, but we know, we have that telepathy, we know that we are connected. And it's an ordained connection by God, because it's not based on what we've done for each other. It's not based on how much money we can give each other. It's based on just the authenticity of caring about somebody in a real way, wanting to see them thrive and do well for themselves. Want them to be the healthiest version of themselves. So as I said before, I'll revisit this again. Sorry about the long-windedness, but I'm not sorry. That being said, bless.